Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Life as a Chad YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. Probably the biggest thing that took place last week was definitely the Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin, the Poop Man, the Mr. Putin interview that took place. And, admittingly, I have not watched the entirety of it. I've watched bits and pieces. I've heard reactions to it. I definitely have seen some of it, but it's hard for your guy here to carve out 2 hours to denote to something like that. And I'm glad I didn't, by the way. So I'm going to be reacting, just giving some preemptive thoughts, just some initial thoughts on it. I may revisit it somewhere down the line. And then also, I think I'm going to pull up a Andrew Wilson from the Crucible clip. I wish they had brought me on for this panel, where the title of the video is essentially pointing out the flaws in the red pill. I hate it when they call it the red pill, because the red pill can apply to the entirety of the conservative movement. Okay. The red pill just designates truth. That's it. The red pill is not solely for the manosphere. Now, I will say that I do think the manosphere brought it forth first and made it prominent, but it doesn't solely, when you say the red pill, you're not solely talking about the manosphere. What he meant to say, and Andrew's a great guy. This is a total soft critique here, and I don't even know if he titled it this or not, but it's the manosphere. Rollo Tomasi, Fresh and Fit, back in the day, damn, what's the guy's name? The black guy who was very popular. Samuels, Keith Samuels, I believe, the Godfather, they call him. Kevin Samuels, my bad. Kevin Samuels. I would call it the manosphere first, descriptively, rather than the red pill. But that's also my OCD mind at work there. So, but first, I want to ask you guys to consider smashing that subscribe button, support a fellow king out. At the very least, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And without further ado, let's get into this. So I saw some reactions from the conservative media on the interview. And suffice it to say, it was as dumb and over the top as I thought it was going to be. In the conservative arena, we're really getting into a space here where freshness, a nuance, a top of the line, cutting edge opinion is being shared and put forth within the conservative movement. It's not. Oftentimes within the conservative movement, really all it is just fucking complaining about what the left is doing. And, we're at a point now where it's fucking too late to do that. We need answers. We need responses. We need more intelligent, in-depth responses on how to fix things and how to get things back. Okay. How do we get back into control here? And it was the same with this fucking Vladimir Putin interview. I fully understand that there is some reverence within the conservative movement of a guy like Vladimir Putin, who there's tons and tons of clips of him making fun of the U.S. military, of Western politics, and how, Western society would rather promote and value and care about LGBTQT rather than making sure every citizen within the country is fed. Western society would rather care about housing and providing food and shelter. Well, shelter is housing for illegals rather than its own citizen. You guys get my point. He has pointed out those issues within the West time and time again in opposition to discussing Russia and putting Russia's worldview and his worldview forth and why Russia is doing better. And in a lot of regards, Russia is doing better. Okay. And yes, there are things that Vladimir Putin displays that, yes, it would be nice to have as a leader. But does that mean that Vladimir Putin is this genius, that he is this, one of a kind? I mean, I guess in a certain regard, he is one of a kind, but in that he is a world leader for one of the biggest superpowers in the world. Okay. But it's like, come on, guys, let's pump the brakes here. Okay. Let's pump the brakes. Okay. Because a lot of the responses that I was seeing on the interview was this like mind-blowing, Vladimir Putin said, boy, it would be nice if we had a leader who could string together two sentences like Vladimir Putin can. It's like, that's the fucking response that you have to that interview is, it'd be nice if we had a leader who could do that. No shit, it'd be nice. Well, everybody knows. It's been said a million times. Everybody knows the dire straits that is the Western society. We all know this. Okay. But it's also true that a certain side of the citizenry in Western countries don't give a fuck. So no matter how much you point out that, especially in America, that Biden can barely string together two coherent sentences, probably couldn't even tie his own shoes, those people don't give a fuck because they're going to vote for, they are going to vote for him 10 times out of 10 over a guy like Trump any day, or DeSantis, or whatever the case may be. And it's the same in other Western countries as well. Okay. It's not, and what I'm talking about, certain citizenry, is of course the left, and specifically the extreme left. It's like at a certain point, okay, you say it once, you point it out once, okay, but you say it over and over and over again and point it out over and over and over again. It's like, come on, guys, you're smarter than this. Okay, you're more creative than this. And I saw a lot of the same shit with Putin's interview with Tucker Carlson, just these standard run-of-the-mill responses to a pretty fucking average interview. Vladimir Putin didn't say anything really that was that profound or that genius or intelligent. And the main portion that people were fucking jizzing over was his 40-minute exposition on the history of Russia in response to Tucker Carlson's answer or question regarding why now did Russia decide to invade Ukraine. And the answer is simple. The answer is, this is known. The answer is known. Okay. It is because Ukraine was about to enter into NATO. Okay. NATO. And NATO wanted Ukraine in their world system so badly that they took away the two-step system that most countries have to complete in order to get membership within NATO, and they rolled it back to one. This is why Putin invaded Russia, Ukraine. This is, everybody knows it. And so all of these conservatives fucking saying how profound it is that he went on this 40-minute escapade when initially he said it was going to take 30 seconds, which I'll get back to, is totally irrelevant. Him giving a backstory on the history of Russia, while interesting in some sense, does not actually answer Tucker's question, because what happened 200 years ago plays zero relevance to that decision right then and there. Okay. In fact, I would be willing to say that what happened 50 years ago plays very little in the grand scheme of things as to the motivation and the actual decision for Russia to invade Ukraine. Okay. All right. But what it was Putin running game. And it's like, okay, I mean, am I really that surprised that Putin knows how to run game in interviews? Of course not. Okay. The guy has been a world leader in high office for a long time now. So, I would say that that's my main response. I think a lot of the a lot of the conservatives, to that very point, were like, oh my God, oh my gosh. They're fucking stroking it over the whole concept of Putin being able to give a historical recount of Russia, which, okay, and a lot of them are saying, can you imagine Trump doing that? Can you imagine Biden doing that? Not only can they not do that, but they actively, well, not Trump, but the liberal and neocon leaders, they actively try to alter the history in embarrassment, them being embarrassed of their own country's history. They try to renounce it and alter it and change it. Not only do they not know it, but they try and flip it to facts that aren't real. Could you imagine having a world leader? No shit, guys. The West is crumbling. Leadership is abysmal. We have fucking idiots running this country. This is a known thing. This is not some profound statement, okay? It's not. So anyways, that's my initial response to it. I suppose we can watch some of the highlights. I think that this is a highlight here. And by the way, my take is not fresh either, okay? Because like I said at the beginning of this video, I listened to a lot of other content creators and their responses. And I got to tell you, I mean, I think Nick's take on it is probably the most accurate. And it was kind of embarrassing to see these stupid responses from these conservative media giants giving these totally baseline takes. So, but anyways, let's listen to this. All right. All right. Putin's most insane moments in Tucker Carlson interview. Let's check it out. I made that. All right. This is from Times Radio. Well, let me make sure that my sound is shared, because sometimes your boy be forgetting to share the sound. Nope, it wasn't. There we go.
You achieved your aims? Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
I was busy that day. I mean, have you achieved your aims?
No, We haven't achieved our aims yet because one of them is denazification. This means the prohibition of all kinds of neo-Nazi movements. This is one of the problems that we discussed during the negotiation process, which ended in Istanbul early this year.
Would you be satisfied with the territory that you have now?
Нет, закончим. Вы же задали вопрос по неонацизму и денацификации.
I will finish answering the question. You just asked a question about neo-Nazism and denazification.
Замалчивается на Западе.
Look, the president of Ukraine visited Canada. The story is well known, but being silenced in the Western countries.
Спикер парламента.
The Canadian Parliament introduced a man who, as the Speaker of the Parliament said, fought against the Russians during the World War II. Well, who fought against the Russians during the World War II? Hitler and his accomplices. It turned out that this man served in the SS troops. He personally killed Russians, Poles, and Jews. The SS troops consisted of Ukrainian nationalists who did this dirty work. The president of Ukraine stood up with the entire Parliament of Canada and applauded this man. How can this be imagined? The president of Ukraine himself, by the way, is a Jew by nationality.
Really, my question is, what do you do about it? I mean, Hitler's been dead for 80 years. Nazi Germany no longer exists. And so, true.
You know, I mean, again, I guess my overall take, because all of that, everything you just said is like, okay, you know, that's all good and fine. You know, he's pointing out the hypocrisy, which a lot of conservatives have pointed out the hypocrisy of Ukraine's leader, Zelensky. But guys, this was scripted, maybe not fully by Tucker. Maybe Tucker did go into this trying to ask an honest and provide an honest interview of really important questions that people want to be asked and want to hear the answers to. But Putin he's a world leader, guys. Do you think that he is going to be caught off guard by these questions and is going to answer them directly? No, he's a politician. That is what politicians do. And so I guess overall, my response to the interview is a big fat meh. You know, he said some things and the interview was done. I mean, nothing that he said is not are things that we haven't heard him say before, you know?
And so I think what you're saying is you want to extinguish or at least control Ukrainian nationalism, but how? How do you do that?
Вот послушайте меня. Ваш вопрос очень тонкий.
Listen to me. Your question is very subtle.
I was actually kind of surprised that Putin doesn't know English, though. Honestly, I would think that he would know English. I was really surprised that he does not. But you know, that's just that's just an aside, you know. But I would think that in this day and age, if you're a world leader, you would know at least a little bit or enough to engage in a conversation. Obviously, your own language, English, and maybe Chinese. Okay.
And I can tell you what I think. Do not take offense.
Or maybe French.
Of course. Can you imagine a scenario where you sent Russian troops to Poland?
Только в одном случае, если со стороны...
Only in one case, if Poland attacks Russia. Why? Because we have no interest in Poland, Latvia, or anywhere else. Why would we do that? We simply don't have any interest. It's just threat-mongering.
Well, the argument, I know you know this, is that, well, he invaded Ukraine. He has territorial aims across the continent, and you're saying unequivocally you don't.
No, he doesn't. Again, the only reason why he invaded Ukraine was because, number one, NATO and some of the top powers, governmental powers, were not really interested in being fair to Russia or negotiating with Russia and taking them seriously and their needs and wants seriously. Because that is what world politics is a checks and balances and a give and a take on what your national interest is and what the other party's interest is. And Russia really was being trampled over a lot of what they wanted and were not willing to put up with. And so there's that. And then it was just the icing on the cake when there was talks that Ukraine was going to enter into NATO almost assuredly. I mean, it was almost a guarantee. So that is why, okay? Russia does not have the resources to enter into another invasion of another European. I mean, it's not that they're struggling per se against Ukraine, but if they can't roll over Ukraine like that, people drastically underestimate how much money and resources are needed to engage in full-blown war or invasion. Okay. And also, what he's going to invade Poland just because he wants to invade Poland? What would Poland add as a country that would enrich Russia? Because at this point in time, long gone are the days of just invading a country just to subjugate and increase your empire, where kings, part of the measurement of their success as kings was how much they were able to expand their reach when a lot of the world was still unknown. The resources it had, the people it had, the culture it had. But now that that's known, we now know what areas are the most profitable or not profitable. And if it's not profitable, if it's not going to enrich your country or add to your country and the citizens that inhabit it, what's the point? Now, the whole Ukraine thing is a little bit different because the positives of invading Ukraine, both internally from the slap in the face that was given to Russia over their admittance into NATO, and what Ukraine can add as a country with its resources and things like that, to them outweighed the negatives. And so they did. But that it's highly unlikely that anywhere else in any of the other European countries, that's going to be, or the Eastern European countries, that's going to be the case.
Это абсолютно исключено.
It is absolutely out of the question. You just don't have to be any kind of analyst. It goes against common sense to get involved in some kind of a global war.
Глобальная война поставить на грань.
And a global war will bring all humanity to the brink of destruction. It's obvious.
Вот. И есть, конечно, средства.
There are,
And I know, shocker, Putin is not the dictator that the left tries to make him out to be. Shocker, okay? Believe you me, there are some world leaders in the West that are far more evil than Vladimir Putin. Believe that, okay?
certainly means of deterrence. They have been scaring everyone with us all along. Tomorrow Russia will use tactical nuclear weapons. Tomorrow Russia will use that. No, the day after tomorrow. So what?
Выбить из налогоплательщиков
In order to
США
extort additional money from US taxpayers and European taxpayers in the confrontation with Russia in the Ukrainian theater of war.
That's a good point, though.
The goal is to weaken Russia as much as possible.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
Listen, your shirts suck.
Oh,
I know
come on,
because I've tried
bruh.
all these on.
Those are actually pretty good shirts, though.
You for sure.
I was busy that day. Nate, do you have? I did not blow up
То есть
Nord
у вас-
Stream.
у
Thank
вас-
you, though.
у вас лично, может быть, есть алиби, у вас лично.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such alibi.
Do you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
Вы знаете, я не
You know, I won't get into details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities. Because there may be many people interested, but not all of them are capable of sinking to the bottom of the Baltic Sea and carrying out this explosion.
That's true.
These two components should be connected. Who is interested and who is capable of doing it.
Services, your intel service.
All right, that's about it for me. I mean, you know, he said some things that were, you know, is it somewhat refreshing to see a leader that is level-headed and obviously has some coherency and logic? Yes, of course, you know, but was this like some unbelievably amazing interview? No, I mean, it's, I'll put it to you this way. It's not worth going back and watching 2 hours of it or anything like that. But I did also want to check out this this clip here.
Andrew, are you saying
here we
like all your interactions with people like Rollo and other people from the Red Pill community, if you will, are you basically saying, yeah, you guys are, you know, accurately describing some things, right? I would agree with, but for fuck's sake, pick a side and point in a direction, right?
Yeah, so my beef here is that I think that the red pill, as it were, by the way, David Patrick Harry, I don't know if you
It's funny, when I interviewed Andrew, which you guys should check out that interview. I think it's probably one of the best that has been done with Andrew. A lot of people in the comments said I look like David Patrick Henry. I don't really think I do. I think maybe we have a similar hairstyle. I think I have a thinner face, and obviously I don't have a beard, but you know, but anyways.
Rollo Tomasi.
What's going on, Rollo? How you guys doing?
He seems like a good guy, though. He's very intelligent, DPH is, and I like a lot of his content.
Maybe
How's it going, David?
Cheers.
Yeah. Welcome to the convo. But so my big issue with it, when we go back and forth, is I don't think that they can make good claims for what people should be doing. But the more that I engaged with them, I found out something.
I would agree with that, and I said that in my critique video of Fresh, of his worldview and some of the mistakes that I think he's made. By the way, a lot of fucking pussies in the response, which I knew was going to be the case. I knew there were going to be people who defended Fresh no matter what I said. They all, you know, all they saw was what I put in the title, critiqued. And I did that on purpose. And they were going to disagree with whatever the fuck I said. But, you know, the problem with the manosphere is they don't have a coherent, thought out backing or system to provide prescriptions for the issues that exist in the West and specifically dating. And what I'm talking about is, of course, like for me as an Orthodox Christian, I have the church and I have the Bible. Okay. So, you know, if we look at Rollo Tomasi, what is his backing? Is it scientism? Is it anecdotal? Is it data, studies? But to me, data and studies can point out the issues, but it doesn't give a good justification as to the prescription. So, you know, I do agree full-heartedly with Andrew on that. I do.
Something interesting. The guys who are really into this don't actually want to. That's not their goal. Their goal is totally different instead. So their goal actually is just to say, here's a data packet, do what you want. Because if you're not informed about what's even happening, you can't even make those odds.
Yeah, maybe there's some guys in the manosphere who do that, but there's also a lot of them who do give full-blown prescriptions on what men should and should not do.
Right? You don't have the core information which is necessary for you to even make those ought claims for these descriptors for society. So what I did was, instead of going, yeah, fucking degen scumbags, is I said,
Right.
look,
Once in a while, you need to do that, right?
Yeah, instead of that, why don't I actually try to take your information, apply it to my worldview, and see how it fits? Well, interestingly, it's a 1-to-1 almost from the Christian worldview. Let me explain. Okay, so the Christian worldview says it's really it's optimal if you maintain chat.
And you know how I know what I'm saying is true is I just saw a clip recently of Myron Gaines saying he wants to debate people in the TradCon worldview on YouTube. So, or in the content creation space. So, and he would not do that if he did not have prescriptions that he advocates for. Okay.
Chastity until marriage. And the red pillars go, yep, that's true, because these men, they sure like those women with low body counts, and they sure like these women did not have their baggage. So the red pillars go, yep, you Christians are right about that. And the Christians go, okay, you should probably get married young because it's better for fertility. The red pillars go, yep, that's also true, and it stops feminism, and it stops all sorts of things that they could get into if you marry them at 18, 19, 20 years old. Right. So you start mapping these on one for one. You go,
perfect world.
Yeah. You go, holy shit. We actually agree with a whole lot of these descriptive claims here, right? When they're applied to our worldview. But then here's where all hell breaks loose, where the tires come off.
And then there's Pearl.
Right. Yeah. Where the tires come off of this car and the fucking thing turns into a wreck is this. The red pillars go out, they're like, listen, let me tell you what's actually happening right now. What's actually happening is that this small subset of men, about 10% of them, they're banging all the chicks. All of them. Not some of them. They got all of them.
So I do want to comment on that. I used to believe that to be the case. And I think it is more the case than not, but I don't think that tells the entire story. And I fully acknowledge. So here's two reasons why I don't think it tells the whole story. One is data is not perfect. So a large portion of the data that pushes that statement is from dating sites. Okay. But dating sites are imperfect as well. A dating site is within a certain environment, with this being this and this being this, and a woman just being able to pick with her finger, what is the case? Okay, well, they end up choosing only 10% of the men. They visually and descriptively, that is the case when it comes to the dating sites. But what it doesn't take into account is in real life how much women are attracted to a man who has the confidence to step forth and say, hey, let me get your number. What's your number? What's your name? It doesn't take that into account. The second thing, and things like that, okay? The second thing is, anecdotally, I know that I see good-looking women with totally average-looking men that I know for a fact don't have a lot of money. They're not even necessarily Christians. You know, Rollo would say, oh, well, they must be a Christian girl then. No, they're not. So I don't think that is the case. I think it's more the case than not. And when it's really the case is with the type of women, and I would say that this is about 10 to 20% of the female population under the age of 30, okay? It's really the case with those women who are like willing to do OnlyFans or go on panels and stuff like that. But that's not most women. Okay. It's not. The average woman and in the average society, they are much more willing to give a guy a chance, which Rollo does say. Rollo says that women choose guys based off of potential or what he already is. Okay. And anecdotally, I see that all the time. Now, what Rollo would say to that is, well, okay, number one, that's anecdotal. Okay, well, fair enough. And two is anecdotal, by the way, anecdotal experience doesn't mean nothing, guys. It still counts for something, but it's not the biggest piece of evidence. But we have entered into a global dating market. But again, that really is only a thing for the women who are willing to take it to a global situation. And those women tend to be the OF girls, the women that are willing to be on Fresh and Fit or strippers or they are focused on a certain type of man. But it is not all women. It's not that are like that. So again, I think that is mostly true, that 10% thing. But I think a more accurate statement is there are 10% of men who are able to get most of the women or a lot of them. And then there's another 10 to 15% who get some action here and there and can get some of the average run-of-the-mill women who are not those women who are willing to take it to a global level and are massively focused on a certain man that can provide a certain lifestyle. Okay. Like I said, I mean, I see it every single day. In my life, I get to see, your average run of the mill suburban lifestyle and people operating within it all the time, vis-a-vis the gym, through officiating, through work. And I just don't see it that it is completely the case of, well, only 10% of guys are fucking all of the women. Therefore, you need to become that 10% guy. Well, no, that's not how stats work. Okay. No matter what, there will always be a top 10% guy. So telling men that they just need to just start working harder and become a top 10% guy. Well, okay. But statistically, that's impossible because there's always only going to be a top 10% and whatever that threshold is. But the other thing is, it's like, okay, so let's just say hypothetically what they're saying is true. And I used to believe that full-heartedly, mind you. And I still mostly believe it, just not completely. But let's just say hypothetically it's fucking true. Okay, so what does that mean? That you're just supposed to fucking quit and give up and not approach women? No, of course not. So my answer would be just find out for yourself. Find out for yourself how true it is. You know where you're at financially, physically, height-wise as a man. You know where you stand and how you measure up and compare. And ask out women, see how successful you are, That's the only way you're going to know for sure. Otherwise, I mean, be my guest. Take fucking Rollo's word for it. Maybe he is fucking spot on with it. I don't think he is 100% correct with that. But he's mostly correct. But you need to decide for yourself because again, what's the alternative? You just say fuck it and you're never going to find out for yourself and approach women and see if you can get numbers or not. Because again, those stats that Rollo gets are in a vacuum. They don't take into account the variation in women from what they find attractive on a individual level. Generally, women do find certain things attractive. Okay. I will admit that they're not that different, but they still are somewhat different. And they don't take into account things like confidence and shit like that. You would be surprised in this day and age with how scared and rightfully so, okay, but also how weak men are today, how little they approach women, how much of a difference and how attractive it will make a girl towards you, that you actually have the fucking balls to go and ask her out. You'd be surprised. Even back in the 60s, you did that to a girl, she would be attracted to it. But now it's even more so, unless it's like some feminazi, because so little men do it anymore.
And they're just smashing them like no tomorrow. And by the time they're all done smashing these chicks, and all these chicks want one of these particular guys, so they're all competing for them, right? And then by the time they're done and they realize, oh shit, I'm screwed, I've hit the wall or whatever, and I'm never going to get one of these guys, you can then have her. She's there for you.
Now, I do 95% agree with that last little tidbit of they will be with the top 10% and be ran through all of them up until the point of needing to settle down, because they know that Giga Chad will not be with them long term and won't marry them. And then it's going to be your turn. I would say, unfortunately, I do 95% agree with that. And I have seen that anecdotally, and the data does back that up. But again, you know, you'd be surprised. I mean, just look with your own two eyeballs. How many decent women that are above a 6 do you see that are with run-of-the-mill guys? I mean, I see it all the fucking time. I really do. So, you know, but again, women pick guys based off of two things: potential and what they already are. And, you know, you can make the case that all those women who are with the run-of-the-mill guys, that they see a potential with them. And so they're banking on the potential of that guy, rather than the pure run-of-the-millness that I see in that moment. You know, but again, guys, some of this can get to a point of just totally overthinking it, totally overanalyzing it, and you got to be careful with that in and of itself.
To go ahead and pick up and go home with, right? And so the Christians look at that and they go, the second they hear that, they go, "Roar!" Because they can't envision that female mate selection could actually be that primitive. But when you look at all the data, you look at all the polling, and you look at all of these dating sites, the dating sites are the big tells, right? You look at Tinder, you look at all the, it's always the same story over and over and over. So then they get into this fight over degeneracy. And what the Christians say is, look, what we want to do is convert society to Christianity so that we don't have this kind of like overage of a degenerate problem. And the red pillars go, oh, well, that's nice. And here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is these chicks are all going to go bang these top 10% still. And then when they're in their 30s, you could pour some fucking holy water on the whore's head and marry her up. That's literally this whole fight summarized, okay, in like the best way I could possibly summarize it. That's what's going on. Now, I do have a solution for this, an answer to this, and I have a debate coming up where I'm going to really get into this, because I really do have a great answer for it. But that's the fight.
Yeah.
So Andrew, why is it that red pillars aren't just becoming Christian? What's this? Why are they two different positions then?
Yeah, here's why. All right, so yeah, go ahead, bro.
You go. No, I was gonna say.
Okay.
I wrote it. It took 3 years of my life to write an entire book as part of the series about that. But continue.
Oh, I was just saying the reason for this is because the red pillars are like, well, that's nice. You can go ahead and you can even take this top 10%, this top 10% tier of men, and you could make them all Christians tomorrow. The problem then still doesn't go away, because what'll happen is those women will still vie over the top 10% of those Christian men until they're 30. And then when that happens, you marry them up. They barely have any children. You might have them chased 30-year-old virgins, which might be better, but chances are pretty good that out of that 10% of men, they're going to have some moral failings. They're going to have some, oops, I slipped my dick in her. Right?
So Andrew,
So Andrew, if you do believe that, which it sounds like he does, that he essentially does believe everything Rollo has said and purported in his books. So, okay, I really can't wait to hear the solution, because what is it? Is it going back to arranged marriages? Is that what you're saying? I guarantee his answer is going to be, we need to just Christianize the society. Well, Andrew, you and I both know that's a big ask. Okay, as much as I would fucking love to see that happen, that is a big ask, and that's going to take a long time, and that's not going to fucking help out the current men in society that are utterly suffering. This is so much the truth. One of my coaches, who was very supportive of me for soccer, great guy, really influential in my life, recently committed suicide. And his first marriage, he got divorced. And I'm pretty sure, based off of what I know, his second marriage, he got divorced as well. So I'm saying all that to say that men are fucking hurting, guys. They are struggling. Okay. And I mean, I just cannot wait to hear what this solution is that's going to help the current modern men in this situation, if given the premise that you agree with what Rollo's saying, that only 10% of guys get play on a consistent basis, which it's just not that straightforward, because what is the top 10%? Is it the overall picture? Is it money? The top 10% of money earners? Is it the top 10% of giga chads who have the best physique and height and all that shit? And that's the thing. That's why it's not a one size fits all answer. And this is kind of what I'm saying overall is, don't get too caught up in your head about this. All you can do is work your butt off to be the best you can be, and let the chips fall where they may. Work on your physique, have the best physique that you can get for your genetics. Work hard to improve your professional life, gain skills and talent, and continue to improve. Read books to grow intellectually, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, anything past that, and actually have the balls to approach normal women with non-pink hair. Okay.
So Andrew, what you're saying is like a 7 male should be more aligned with, being marrying and procreating with like a 5 or a 4 woman, right?
No, well, this is a problem, right? So you'll hear this from the other side. They'll go, what about the 4s? Look, if you're a 7, just settle for a 4, because men will do that, right? They don't care. They're like, hey, you're super nice and you cook really good, and we have sex every morning. This is great. Let's get married and live happily ever after, even if you're a 4. But here's where the rub is, right? Even the 4s want the top 10%. They don't want you. They still don't fucking want
it's luxury.
You.
It's all luxury and modernity.
Yeah,
to me.
it's all
exactly.
That's exactly right. It's
but this is what I just talked about.
One step further, they feel like they deserve, and then are.
That's true.
Exactly.
It's a fake thing they're interacting. Go ahead, David.
So I didn't hear a solution there. Hopefully he publishes a video on that. I agree with most of what was said there. The small difference is, I don't think it's as exact as that. And it is a 100% hard and fast rule that that's the case. But I could be wrong. I'm not the end all be all on this. I only know what I have experienced personally, and what I have seen anecdotally, and what data I have taken in. Because again, and I'll say this for the 4th or 5th time that I've said this video, those stats are in a vacuum. Okay. They are, when there is a set criteria with a set environment, what are the results? But that's not life. Okay. Life has independent variables that are not fixed. The whole correlation doesn't equal causation thing. And it doesn't account for, is she Christian? Does she value a Christian man and being with a Christian man? Okay. On dating sites, I get hit up all the time from Christian girls who say that they distinctly picked my profile, one, because they thought I was handsome, but also because it said that I'm a Christian. So it obviously is important to them. It is. Does the guy have confidence to approach the girl? Because the other element to this that they don't talk about is women, even in modernity, deep down want a leader. What better display of leadership than approaching a girl and, in essence, bringing her to you, and obviously not forcefully or anything creepy like that, but by you leading the way and introducing the relationship and the connection. What is a better display of leadership than that? So, but anyways, guys, I could talk about this for hours. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. At the very least, like, comment, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill. Let me know what you guys think of the new aesthetic in the background. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy with all facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, kings. See you guys next time. Christ is king. Peace.